Tonight is the second of two forums, and tonight we'll hear from the two candidates for Clearwater Mayor. And also we'll hear a presentation on the one Clearwater Charter Amendment that will also be on the ballot in March. I am Bill Johnson, the CNC president, and in a moment the candidates will introduce themselves. Our organization's membership includes homeowners associations, condo associations, and individual residents from around the city of Clearwater. Our goal is to make Clearwater a great place to live. We would welcome your membership, or either as an individual or as a neighborhood. There are forms to apply for membership over there on the counter. The moderator for this evening is Tanya Landry. She has met with all the candidates and covered the procedures for this forum. As you came in, you were given a handout with the candidates' names and the rules. The intent is to maximize time to hear from the candidates, so we ask that the audience remain silent until the end of the event. Our timekeeper is Sue Cornett. The questions for the first part of the forum were submitted by CNC membership and have been combined and edited where appropriate. The second part is questions that will include questions that have been submitted tonight on the little 3x5 cards. Are there anybody here who has a card that hasn't turned it in? Because we need them now to include them in the second part of the forum. Not all questions will be able to be posed to the candidates because we usually have too many. Ms. Landry, the floor is now yours.
And welcome to all of you, and for those of you who were here last week, welcome back, and it's me again, okay? Before we get started, so that we can make sure we don't have any interruptions, if everyone could just do a quick check of your cell phones, make sure they're silenced. We want to be able to hear what the candidates have to say, and I'd like to hear the answers too, since I'm also a resident of Clearwater, so all of us together want to be able to hear and not be interrupted. As Bill mentioned also, so there'll be no applause until the candidates are finished with their closing statements, and then you're welcome to go wild. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start with opening statements, and the first one will be Kathleen.
Thank you. Well, hello, Clearwater. I am so happy to be here with you all tonight. Thank you to the CNC for organizing this important forum, and thank you to Trinity Presbyterian Church for graciously hosting this event. A special thank you to all who are attending this evening, as it's clear you care about Clearwater and who you elect to serve you. I'm both proud and honored to be serving as your council member for the last 4 years. I've made connecting with residents one of my top priorities. I've tried to raise the bar on what it means to serve you. I compose and distribute a monthly digital newsletter, and I'm out in your communities continuously. Why? Because it's important to you, and it's what I love most about the job. And for anyone who really knows me, you know I'm an incredibly frugal person, always looking to save money. And that's what I do as your council member, and that's what I'll continue to do as your mayor. Clearwater has a combined operating budget and capital improvement budget of over $500 million, and the council is in charge of allocating those funds. I'm a fiscal hawk. I have never voted for a $91 million city hall. Instead, I strongly supported a $31.5 million city hall that creates an efficient campus for our city staff. I rejected a 63% council raise, and I voted yes to lower your taxes. I have a proven record of continuously engaging with residents, of practicing good governance, and of always looking for ways to save taxpayer money. I'll continue those priorities as your next mayor.
Thank you. Bruce.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. A very successful mayor who created really transformational change in his city once said, The mayor's job is really, at the end of the day, to elevate the people around them and the organizations around them. And the point was that you can't really create transformational change for a city all by yourself. It takes a community working together. It takes organizations and people doing that. And so I'm very proud of some of the endorsements I've already gotten. I've gotten endorsements from the Clearwater firefighters, from the Clearwater FOP, the Suncoast Police Benevolent Association, the business community, ClearPac has endorsed me, and I look forward to working with lots of organizations to make Clearwater better. Also have the endorsements of many elected officials, colleagues currently and past members of the Clearwater City Council that will be very important to getting things done for Clearwater, but also county, state, and federal elected officials who I have known, many of them, for a long time, and who I can work with to bring resources to Clearwater to help make it better. But most of all, the most important relationship that I've been developing and want to continue to develop is my relationship with the citizens. I've enjoyed having so many conversations with folks, not just walking neighborhoods, but at Little League games and all across the city. And it's important for me to continue to do that as mayor, because at the end of the day, we need to do as elected officials what the citizens want us to do, not what we want to do or not pursuing our own personal agenda, and not always doing what staff recommends. We must do what the citizens want us to do.
Thank you. All right, Bruce, you can keep the mic because the first question goes to you. First question, what efforts have you personally made to make the city a better place to live and work?
I'm very proud of not just my involvement in the city, but the diversity of my involvement in the city. I'm currently vice chair of the Community Development Board, which handles, essentially many of the planning and zoning issues for the city. I'm a past chair of the Parks and Recreation Board. I've been chair of the Jolly Trolley of Clearwater Transportation Incorporated Nonprofit Board. I'm vice president of Clearwater Beach Association, so I'm very involved out there. I'm a past vice chair of what was the Clearwater Regional Chamber. I was on the committee that merged the beach chamber with the regional chamber. So I've been involved in many different levels, including my church, and engaging in that has really helped me, hopefully helped the community in many ways, but also educated me in what the community needs and how I can best serve.
Great, thank you. If you could pass the mic to Kathleen. Kathleen, same question.
Well, thank you. Aside from my council responsibilities, I thoroughly enjoy being out and about in our city, working with our community to make it better. I've served on the Paint Your Heart Out board and led multiple teams in painting the homes of Clearwater residents. For the last 7 years, I've been a weekly one-on-one aide with Pinellas County Schools and elementary students. For the last 7 years, I've been a guardian ad litem with Pinellas County Courts, representing children who've been removed from their home due to abuse or neglect. I volunteer with and donate to Habitat for Humanity in multiple ways. I volunteer at our cold night shelter for the homeless. I'm a member of the Clearwater Community Women's Club, helping to fundraise for community improvement initiatives. I'm a member of the NAACP, and I volunteer each year with the North Greenwood Community Family Fun Fest, and even received the Bounce House Survivor Award this year. So thank you to Marilyn for that.
All right, thank you. Kathleen, you can keep the mic. The next question is for you. All right, next question. What do you feel are the strengths and weaknesses of the Planning and Development Department in reference to their responsibilities to residents and or businesses?
We can certainly be more fully staffed in this key department. They have a great amount of responsibility on their plate. All of the development projects, the questions about zoning and what's allowed, permitting and code enforcement fall under planning and development. They field hundreds of emails a week from residents and developers. One key thing to understand is in our development language is that flexibility does not mean a developer has to apply for and be granted flexibility. Flexibility is there for the taking. There is also key language in our code, such as a development must conform to the aesthetics of surrounding buildings that has been applied subjectively. An onboarding process for CDB members might lead to uniform understanding and application of this goal.
Thank you. Bruce, same question.
Well, our planning folks get put in a tough spot, because I can tell you that the developers are very critical of them, and citizens are very critical of them in different ways. And so I feel for the tough spot they're in, because they feel like often they can't win either way. That said, we've not always performed at the level that the citizens expect them to perform. They have been understaffed. We need to fix that. We need to make sure they are fully staffed so they can best serve our citizens. And then we need to take a hard look as a city council and our community at our community development code and make sure that it's current and updated, and it's allowing them as planning department personnel to fully and effectively serve the citizens of Clearwater.
Thank you. And you can keep, you have the next question. So it's a follow-up to what I just asked, and it is, what are the solutions that might promote a more positive connection between the two?
Well, staffing is one. I mean, they just really are laying their staffs in the response time. And then that also, the staffing also, I'm told, leads to, we need to do a better job of following up on construction that's in progress. I think that too many times, once construction has begun, our planning department has not had the personnel to follow up and make sure that the people constructing the facility and doing the building are following code in their construction process. For instance, sometimes they'll put skirting around the outside of the construction site at the beginning, and we'll go by to make sure it's in place in the beginning, but we haven't had the staff to go by and check to make sure it's up. So if we get a hard rain or a storm, a lot of that debris washes into our stormwater system and pollutes our waterways. So that's one example, but I think it all leads to being accurately staffed with competent people.
Thank you. If you could give the mic to Kathleen. So Kathleen, same question. What are solutions that might promote a more positive connection between the two?
I think what's important is for residents to really understand how that development process works, what the development review committee stage is about, whether or not you can attend and speak. I think education is key. What does the community development board do? What are the language parameters that they follow? I think the CNC and David Lillisand in particular has done a great job in developing a document called Leveling the Playing Field that offers some solutions. I think an idea of an ombudsman has been broached. Different cities use that throughout the nation. We might explore that. But I also think it's important to really encourage developers to communicate with residents along the way. To not be blindsided, that you need to let people know what's being proposed in your neighborhood and work with them to bring them along.
Great. You can keep the mic. You have the next question. The next question. Clearwater's Green Print 2.0 sustainability plan sets a goal of installing rooftop solar on 1,000 homes of low and moderate income residents by 2030. What actions would you take to assure this goal was accomplished?
My notes. Well, we are taking actions. I am incredibly proud of the first action the city took was to partner with Solar United Neighbors to bring a solar co-op to our city to help educate our residents. That partnership helps educate interested consumers and helps drive down costs for solar, making it more affordable for all homeowners. The city also partnered with the CNC and other organizations to educate residents on solar. And what I'm most proud of is that the city staff did a great job in bringing together an affordable housing development in the Lake Bellevue community for 24 townhomes that will have solar placed on them, leveraging ARPA funds. These types of actions help drive down the costs of owning a home. And there are many more opportunities the city can explore to help achieve this goal. And let me clarify, it's on the homes of 1,000 residents, not 1,000 homes.
Thank you for that clarification. Bruce, same question.
care about the environment, and I care about sustainability. I care about our water quality and all those things that most of us in this room care about. I also care about the people that live in our homes in Clearwater, and that whatever approach we take with this program is realistic. I've met with so many people in the past 2 or 3 months that are really struggling to pay their utilities bills, to pay their insurance bills. I met with a woman just 2 days ago at her home. She's seriously worried that she's going to be able to keep her home because she can't afford the insurance to keep her mortgage in place. So I understand that, you know, we have goals, but we've got to be realistic about the needs of the people living in our community today. And I can tell you that their highest priority is paying their bills to stay in their home. And we need to make that our highest priority as a city government.
All right, thank you. Bill, let's see, Bruce, you can keep the mic. The next question belongs to you. Do you believe that Clearwater code enforcement is effective in enforcing requirements in neighborhoods? And if not, what would you change?
Well, I think it's fair to say that they're very inconsistent, is the feedback I get from citizens. And I don't mean to be critical of them, because it's not the highest paying job in our city government. It's a tough job because essentially many times these code enforcement officers are being mediators for neighborhood disputes. They have neighbors fighting with each other over whether they can park something in their driveway or not. And that's a tough job. I think we need to look at training and helping pay these folks more for the code enforcement. And then I also think we need to look what has happened here recently is because you can't anonymously, turn in a complaint on somebody. Now some of our neighborhood associates are getting involved to kind of circumvent or at least mediate before it gets to the code enforcement officer. So I think more of that neighborhood involvement to resolve these issues would help as well.
Thank you. Kathleen, same question.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to say that since I've been elected, we've actually increased the number of code enforcement officers. However, as Bruce alluded to, the state has also recently enacted legislation that requires those who report to leave their identifying information. And so that does make it difficult for residents to report their neighbors, which makes it more important that our code enforcement officers really patrol their regions and work to educate residents on how to bring their property up to compliance and what resources they have to help them bring it up to compliance. We also, I think, will have dashboards for part of our planning department as a dashboard for code enforcement that will help us identify problem areas. It'll help us identify where to put our resources and where to make positive change. I'm also really looking forward to updating our code in conjunction with a comprehensive plan we just adopted to better fit our communities and our businesses and what their expectations are.
Great. You can keep the mic, Kathleen. You have the next question. The next question. How will you collaborate with council members who hold views different than your own?
Well, I'll tell you that one of the biggest challenges we have as elected officials is that when we are elected in the same body, we can't talk to each other about any city business or anything we might potentially vote on unless we're at a notice meeting that's been recorded. And so it is critical that we allow enough time in our work sessions, which are about every other week, 3 hours or so, to really allow that time to get to know each other's priorities, how we look at issues, collaborate, have thoughtful discussion, and work together. We really need to be very respectful of each other and dedicate that time on the dais during those work sessions primarily to make the best thoughtful decisions and to build consensus. But it's important to be guided by facts and to strive to make the decisions that are best for our residents and city operations.
Thank you. Bruce, same question.
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said in my opening remarks. We cannot change this city for the better. We cannot create the change that many of you in this room have talked with me about, and they talked with me about over Clearwater. why can't we have the revitalization that's happening in other cities in Tampa Bay and other cities in Pinellas County? I can't make that happen by myself. I have to have a good relationship with those other 4 council members, because you're only one vote as mayor, and you have to build consensus, and you have to persuade them to what you think is the best thing for Clearwater. And we can do that in open meetings. Our sunshine laws don't allow us to meet privately on city business, of course, but that doesn't mean we can't have professional disagreements and still get along and still work on projects together and find ways we can collaborate together as a council and work as a team to make Clearwater better.
Great, thank you. And you can keep the mic. You have the next question. The next question. The city recently passed a motion to establish measurable performance goals for the city manager and the city attorney. If you were on the council today, how would you go about establishing a single set of meaningful goals for the city manager?
Someone recently, I think the folks saw them earlier tonight, but they shared to me the city staffing chart, and it had the council over here and the city manager over here, and all the city employees underneath it. And they asked me, you know what's missing here? And I said, well, the citizens. They said, you're right. And they said, in their view and in my view, the citizens should be at the top of all of it. So this, we've done, every 2 or 3 years, we've done a survey of our citizens to ask them how we are doing providing government services. And then the company that does the survey for us, they benchmark those answers against other communities around the country. So for me, that's how I would judge the performance of the city manager. Is our city government meeting the expectations of our citizens in the delivery of services? That would be one of the primary goals I would have for evaluating the city manager.
Great. Kathleen?
Sure. Well, I spearheaded this change in the council policy, and I'm excited to see how we utilize this going forward to be respectful to our city manager and city attorney. And just as importantly, it demonstrates good governance and respect for our staff. Our city manager and city attorney will propose measurable goals that they will be evaluated on. These goals will be tied to our strategic plan, as well as to the priorities we set in our strategic planning work session, which is actually tomorrow morning. Council will discuss the proposed measurable goals, come to agreement, modify, add to them, and then our city manager and city attorney will be evaluated on them in October. That's how we'll develop those annual measurable goals, tied to the strategic plan and tied to our budget priorities for the year.
You can keep the mic, Kathleen. You have the next question. The next question. What are you doing to work with the Merchants Association and business owners to bring more vitality to the downtown area?
Well, I work downtown. I'm down there at least 4 or 5 days a week. Our office is downtown. I frequent our downtown businesses and I speak with the owners about their needs and ideas. I also attend and support nearly all of the revitalization activities that we've held downtown. Sip and Stroll, Jazz Holiday, free concerts at Peace Memorial, art walks in a variety of markets. And I responded to COVID by voting to close those 2 blocks of Cleveland Street, which has enjoyed resounding approval from tourists, from businesses, as well as residents. We just had a presentation from the planning department about the possibility of pocket parks downtown. And I also support more fully activating our East Gateway in order to bring people from that part of our downtown, off Gulf Boulevard, through our downtown as well.
Great. Bruce?
Well, our strategy for revitalizing downtown is not working, okay? We need to review our approach and our strategy downtown. The Coachman Park renovation has been fantastic, it's a great spark, but we need to do a whole lot more than just Coachman Park to make that successful. The county is going to leave probably in about 3 to 4 years. That will leave us, a blank canvas to maybe do something else down there. But the citizens tell me that they want to see more of a balance of activities down there. Right now, everyone knows in this room, most of that footprint is dominated by the Scientology. And the citizens want to see more of a balance of activity downtown.
Thank you. You can keep the mic. The next question is for you. What criteria will you use to prioritize both neighborhood revitalization and economic development proposals that are presented to the council? Sort of that balance you were talking about.
Well, I think the two go hand in hand. I mean, folks, somebody used the Hyde Park neighborhood over in Tampa as an example the other day, where they've got a lot of great residential properties in that area, but they've also got, within walking distance, they've got restaurants, they've got shopping, and so that I don't know that you can have one without the other. Anywhere you go in Clearwater, folks, their quality of life is greatly dependent upon their access to those things that we all need to do, grocery shopping and those things. So it takes a combination, a blend of both, and I think it makes it certainly increases our residential property values the more that we have successful businesses in the area to serve them. So I think the two go hand in hand. I think you need both, and I think that they work together.
Thank you. Kathleen, same question.
Sure. Well, neighborhood revitalization and economic development are not mutually exclusive. We agree. We can have both. Our city is not just the beach and downtown. It's neighborhoods off MLK and Drew Street. It's potential on Myrtle. It's walkability near Gulf to Bay and in Countryside. I am fully supportive of diversifying our economy and bringing in higher paying jobs. We have that opportunity in our US 19 corridor project. But we also have properties off Hercules that are zoned industrial, but are vacant or underutilized. We can work harder to attract businesses there, but we always need to be sensitive to the quality of life of our residents, your quality of life. There is a balance, or one way to respect this is to encourage developers, as I said before, to communicate and partner with surrounding neighbors throughout the development process. Residents do not like to be blindsided on these issues.
Thank you. You can keep the mic, Kathleen. You have the next question. The next question. What is your commitment, and you can be specific, please, to the completion of Drew Street as a complete street, particularly from Osceola to Keene?
So this is important. I respect the analysis of FDOT and experts in traffic and safe street design. I am also respectful of the $12 million plus in primarily federal funding allocated to this municipal project. I can't support forfeiting this funding and allowing crashes and fatalities to continue to occur at an alarming rate on Drew Street, a street that cuts through residential neighborhoods. The Forward Pinellas Board has voted in support of this project 10 times. Residents overwhelmingly want to see Drew Street safer. They are very supportive of the lane repurposing effort. If there are minor tweaks suggested for the section between Myrtle and Osceola, I believe those can be evaluated in future meetings as we move forward towards 60% plans. Drew Street also plays a significant role in bridging our two CRAs. Land repurposing, medians, and safety measures will improve economic opportunity and access to downtown.
Bruce, same question.
So Drew Street is one of only two east-west connectors through Clearwater, and one of only two four-lane east-west connectors in Clearwater. That makes it essential for fire, police. If something is happening on Gulf to Bay and they can't get up and down quickly east-west on Drew, that could be a challenge and a threat to the public safety of our residents. And when we say that it's overwhelmingly popular, I can tell you it is overwhelmingly not popular throughout Clearwater. Folks in the countryside, out on the beach, they use Drew Street a lot. Elderly people use it to get up and down, go to the grocery store, go to see their doctor. It is an important artery for all of Clearwater. And I just want to make sure that we're listening to all of the Clearwater residents, not just the residents that live right around True Street, and making a significant decision that could impact the lives of all Clearwater citizens for a long time to come.
You can keep the mic, Bruce. You have the next question. The next question. What infrastructure needs do you believe are of the highest priority for the city, and can you be specific, please?
Stormwater drainage, for a couple reasons. One is, we need to make sure we're not polluting our waters around here, which are very important to not just residents for recreation, but our quality of life, but also for our tourism industry. And then we need to, the city's been catching up with sidewalks, but as you canvass the entire city, it's just surprising how many neighborhoods don't have continuous sidewalks. And then our curbing and our street resurfacing. When you go around the city, we're not consistent throughout the city in that, and that's where I think we have the most need. We have flooding problems in some neighborhoods. So North Beach, Clearwater, they have significant flooding problems. And it's because the streets up there have not been changed since the 1950s. So that would be my highest priority, stormwater drainage, and then also streets and roads and sidewalks.
Thank you. Kathleen, same question.
Well, I'm proud to say that the council allocated, after extensive resident feedback, $2 million for sidewalk replacement and repair. That was ARPA funding. And we've made significant strides in catching up from about a 3-year backlog. But now is the time to look at stormwater infrastructure, especially on North Beach. There is more frequent and more damaging flooding going on there all the time. We need to enlarge, replace, and reconfigure much of the infrastructure on North Beach. This is expected to be at least a 5-year plan, costing between $75 and $100 million. We have a plan. We need to be sure it is prioritized and funded. We also have stormwater and other infrastructure needs in other parts of our city. There is frequent flooding at the Clearwater Beach Circle and on Drew Street when we have heavy rains. We need to look at it comprehensively. We have not adequately funded our infrastructure for the last 20 or so years. It's time to play catch up, but North Beach is a priority.
Kathleen, you can keep the mic. You have the next question. This will be the last question, and then we'll go to lightning round questions, okay? So this question. Workforce housing is a critical need for our short and long-term future. Young, talented people are unable to live here, can't afford it. Elderly are at risk as well. What is your expectation, leadership, priority to lead Clearwater with innovative housing?
Well, as chair of the Pinellas County Continuum of Care, I'm intimately aware of our lack of housing options. I'm proud that the city signed on to the Pinellas County Housing Compact. It has lofty statements, but no real measurable goals. I think we need to promote bonus density provisions to effectively incentivize good development and more housing options. We need to promote and encourage missing middle housing that is compatible with single-family neighborhoods. I would love for us to have some pre-approved open source building plans that can receive expedited zoning and permitting. And our comprehensive plan, Clearwater 2045, has been updated. Now we need to update our land use development code to allow for more variety in housing, such as ADUs and tiny homes and a variety of missing middle options.
Thank you. Bruce.
Well, it's our greatest challenge, and it's not peculiar just to Clearwater. I hear, and I want feedback from the community, but I hear some folks will write to me and they'll say, stop all the housing development. We don't need any more housing in Clearwater. We can't have any more housing. We've got too many people here already. At the same time, those folks would really like to have a firefighter come to their home when they need medical services, or a police officer or a nurse attend to them when they go to the hospital. If there's no place for those folks to live in Clearwater, they want more housing here. So we've got to find solutions to it. We have a problem here in Clearwater because we've got short-term rental investors buying homes in average neighborhoods far away from the water. And what that's doing over time, it's shrinking our inventory of housing for those who want to live here year-round. And we all know folks in this room are struggling not just to purchase a home, but to rent a home because our prices have gotten out of control.
All right, thank you. If you want to take a quick sip of water, quick break while we gather our lightning round questions. Take a quick stretch if you want. Okay.
Here too.
So if I take it to the end of my book, is that water? If I turn left, looks like
Okay, if everybody can please take a seat so that we can continue. We have a lot to get to. If everyone could please take a seat. Thank you. All right, lightning round, 30 seconds, okay? And we finished with Bruce going first, so Kathleen, you will get the first lightning round question. First question, how would you evaluate the Clearwater City Manager's performance to date?
I think Jennifer Poirier is doing a phenomenal job. I think she took on our recycling challenges. She was the city manager that instituted our first dashboard. She's committed to dashboards for each department for transparency. She builds consensus and keeps council members informed in our weekly meetings. I trust her. She's incredibly transparent, and she's hired good people to work with her, alongside her. I applaud her hiring Chief Slaughter to work as our assistant city manager.
Great, thank you. Bruce?
30 seconds, right?
30 seconds for lightning round. Yes, 30 seconds.
I like Jennifer a lot. She's very bright and talented. She got thrown into a very difficult situation. I think in light of the situation she got put in, she handled it extremely well. I think she would even tell you that she's, because she had very little time as an assistant city manager before she became city manager, she's learned a lot and will continue to learn and develop in her role as city manager, and we should expect that as citizens, that she will continue to develop and get better and stronger in her role as she gains some more experience.
You can keep the mic, Bruce. You have the next question? The next question. What are your thoughts as to the future of the Bluffs project?
Yeah, the Bluffs.
The Bluffs.
Project, yeah. Well, going back to what we said earlier, it's a very important.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt 1 second? A lot of people didn't seem to understand what that is. Can you give it just a brief what the Bluffs project is so everybody's following?
This is the proposal to develop housing and a hotel down by Coachman Park on what we call the Bluffs, which is the area which is just above the water. It's a very complicated project, and I can tell you, because of the sports company I work for, we do complicated projects all around the country too, where big bank lenders get involved like they have here, and they want things that are different from what the developer wants. I hope that we can find a path forward to make that work. It's important for Clearwater. It needs to be fair to the taxpayers and the citizens who voted to approve it. But I'm hopeful that we can continue to push forward to make it work.
Great, thank you. Kathleen?
Well, today, actually, at our work session, there was an agenda item on that Bluff project, and it was a proposal to accept a development agreement to close an $80 million gap. The city contracted with HR&A, a consulting firm that evaluated the financials. Our city attorney, David Margolis, worked tirelessly for over a year to work on that development agreement and account for that $80 million gap, and that's where we're at. Today we had 4 council members, and we gave direction that we would go forward with that.
Thank you. Kathleen, you have the next question. I know these are tough for 30 seconds. How do you see the role of mayor as unique when compared to that of council members?
You know, we're in a city manager form of government, which means the mayor does not function as a strong mayor. And when I knock on doors, a lot of times people don't really understand our form of government. Each one of us has the same vote. Each one of us represents all of 117,000 or so residents in Clearwater. The function of the mayor is to run that council meeting and the work session, but also to set the tone for collaboration and to be the publicly facing face of the city with other regional leaders, and I think that's important.
Thank you. Bruce.
Well, I just had extra time today, so I read the city charter to see what the definition was. And it does say that the mayor is recognized as the official head of the city by the courts process, by the governor for purposes of military law and for all ceremonial purposes. I can tell you in reality, Clearwater may not have a strong mayor, but our citizens expect a mayor to be strong. They expect the mayor to do what we have traditionally done, and that is sit down for lunch once every 3 months with the mayor of Tampa and St. Petersburg and be a leader throughout the Tampa Bay region.
Thank you. You can keep the mic. You have the next question. How do you plan to save the taxpayer some dollars?
Well, we got to take a look at all of our spending, and we have to. The city, like a lot of cities, have had an influx of COVID money and a lot of extra money that's not going to last, and so we need to not spend $90 million in the city hall, and we'll get to that maybe in another point. But that kind of proposal to the citizens, we can't stand that as a community. We've got to watch our spending in all respects, but definitely buildings.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question goes to you, Kathleen.
Or did you want me to ask that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
How to save taxpayers?
How do you plan to save the taxpayer dollars?
Well, I'm always looking for ways to save the taxpayer dollars. One of the things I did when I was first elected is to urge our city manager at the time, Bill Horn, to investigate the company Synergistics out of Texas. It's a company that works with the Pinellas County Schools to save millions of dollars with energy efficiencies and really hyper monitoring their consumption. We pay $7 million a year for electric. We can save money that way. I also voted to lower your millage rate. I think we also hired a grant writer to save money. There are multiple ways to save money.
Thank you. And you can keep the mic, Kathleen. Your next question. How can we put emphasis on citizens when it comes to decisions made by the city of Clearwater in reference to development and other major projects?
I think it's always important to be in constant contact with our residents. And I strive to do that with my monthly digital newsletter, with my being out in the community weekly, with having conversations at people's front doors or on their front porches, at their kitchen tables, to really understand what their needs are. But I'm responsive, and I think, again, it's that education about what our parameters are legally on what we can do and private property rights. Part of that's education.
Thank you. Bruce?
Could you repeat that question?
Sure. How can we put emphasis on citizens when it comes to decisions made by the city of Clearwater in reference to development and other major projects?
Well, you have to stay engaged, but that means engaging the entire community, not just folks who come forward who are the loudest voices in the room. I mean, all of our citizens deserve to be represented and listened to. And I feel like in many places I go in Clearwater, they tell me they don't feel like they are. They don't feel like their voices are heard. And we should expect government to come to them, not expect them to come all the way downtown Clearwater to voice their concerns. We need to be out in the community more, not just as the mayor, but all of our council.
Thank you. And Bruce, you have the next question first. Two concerns about Clearwater Beach. You all have talked about some of these before, but people have some more concerns. The North Beach flooding. What plan do you visualize to help with this problem? And due to the continuous building on Clearwater Beach, traffic continues to be a major problem. What strategies can be used to solve this? Let's take the first one as one question and then do the second one because that's too long for 30 seconds. So the North Beach flooding, what do you visualize to help with this problem?
Well, the city staff has done I think it's a 7-year plan to make significant improvements out there. Additional pump stations and all kinds of things. What the residents want is they wanted to stop flooding like now because their homes have been damaged twice here in the last 6 months to where they've had to file insurance claims for flood insurance. They may be tapped out now. They may not be able to file another claim on it. So we need immediate fixes. One is sealing the seawall, which for some reason was a hole that's got to let water in, but we need to do some short-term immediate fixes as well.
Thank you. Kathleen.
Thank you. We have had significant flooding on North Beach. I was called down there by residents a couple of different times and sloshed around with water up to my shins and took video and pictures as well. Bruce is right. We do need a plan. We have a long-term plan. It'll be presented tomorrow at our strategic planning meeting by Marcus Williams, but it costs significant amounts of money. We need to make sure that we prioritize that. We have a capital improvement budget, that we have money allocated for that, but we also need to explore what are some short-term fixes, and Marcus is going to cover that.
All right. Kathleen, you have the next question. This is the second part of that one. Due to the continuous building on Clearwater Beach, traffic continues to be a major problem. What strategies can be used to solve this?
Well, I drive through Clearwater Beach almost every day because I live on Sand Key. Sometimes I go over the Bel Air Bridge because of traffic. There has been talk about routing traffic in one direction only on the south end of the beach. I don't know if that can be tried, but we can look at different alternatives. And we can also, I support multimodal transportation, bikes, the ferry, the Jolly Trolley to reduce traffic as well.
Thank you. Bruce.
Yeah, I've lived out there for a while now, so when people talk about beach traffic, they want to talk about the stretch between the Mayoral Causeway Bridge and the roundabout. And the most problematic part is between Sand Key Bridge and the roundabout. That's where traffic backs up the worst on the beach, not getting to the beach. And if we could turn back the clock, we would not have developed as many hotels as we did in that stretch of the beach. We've way overbuilt. And I think a lot of the councilmen at the time would acknowledge that. But we need to look for creative ways to make sure that we reduce that traffic, particularly between Sand Key Bridge and the roundabout, because that's our worst part of it now.
Thank you. And you have the next question. In reference to Clearwater, city parks, okay, let me see what they have here. Are you in favor of privatizing our parks and recreational facilities? If not, how can communities afford to pay to use these facilities, especially Coachman Park?
So if there are efficiencies and if it would save the taxpayers money to do that, I would be for doing that. That there are ways, or the company I work with, we do this all over the country. There are ways to have a more market-focused approach to operating parks that help save the taxpayers money. So if we find opportunities to do that, then we should do that. I think Coachman Park's going to come in at a $5 million subsidy after the first year of operation. And I'd love to get that number down.
All right, Kathleen.
Well, I'm always open to looking at different options, but I'll tell you my gut response is I would not support privatizing our parks. Our parks and our recreation centers are the jewel of our city, and they are used extensively and valued. Our taxpayers pay a lot of money, and that's one of the benefits that they receive. I think when you privatize them, that means somebody's got a for-profit, and that means they're going to charge you a whole lot more. Our average residents make under $60,000 a year. That's not fair.
You have the next question, Kathleen. Would you ever consider using or repurposing the downtown Clearwater Library to the Clearwater City Hall? Is this feasible? Is this a feasible vision for City Hall?
Well, this is really a moot point because we've already made the decision. We voted on a $31.5 million city hall. We're moving forward with the plans, the architect and the construction manager at risk, as well as an owner's rep. That library is a stunning building with a gorgeous view. It needs to be open to the taxpayers to go up there and utilize it. We have a children's reading room on the second floor. It's got amazing views that are for residents, not for 9 to 5 staff, and we'd have to build parking and at millions of dollars.
Bruce.
Well, I've told many folks that I agree with Mayor Hibbert that we should have looked at remodeling that building or refitting it for a cost a fraction of building a new building. It would have served a great purpose. And if we've decided to do something else, the taxpayers should know what are we going to do better with the library than what we're using it for now, which is little used. There's a floor for the children's that is used, but it's largely used by homeless to get shelter on hot days and cold days.
All right, you have the next question, Bruce. Do you think the city council should remain as members at large or break the city into council districts?
I've sat on the Charter Review Committee, not this past one, but the one before that, and I'm not opposed to some combination of districts and at-large. I think the beauty of an at-large district is that the council members should be serving all of the citizens of Clearwater, not just one area of Clearwater, and I think there's some benefit to that.
Thank you. Kathleen.
I think it's worth a comprehensive look. We are a very large city, 117,000. We cover a wide swath of geographical region. I think districts would lend themselves to having a cheaper campaign to run, more diversity on the council, and easier access to your residents if you're covering a smaller region. So I think there are some benefits. I think it's worth a educated academic look with expert advice.
Thank you. And you have the next question. Official city business and meetings are all held on the far west side downtown of the city. Would you support an effort to examine what city services could also be located on the east side? Why or why not?
Well, I think so. I mean, I agree, you know, the city hall and city services are in a particular part of our city farther away from countryside and others. But there are efficiencies by having a citywide campus area where our staff can interact with each other without traveling to different, you know, parts of the city. The county is having a campus, Largo has a campus, Dunedin has a campus for efficiencies, and that's what employees want. But I wouldn't be opposed to having meetings in satellites.
Bruce.
I think it was part of my challenge with building, you know, the initial proposal to build a combined city hall municipal service building. That in today's day and age, I want our Clearwater city staff out into the community as much as possible. I don't want them sitting behind a desk in a big building downtown Clearwater, away from the people. I want them out in the neighborhoods, out in the city, in countryside, East Clearwater. I want them all over the city, connecting and interfacing face-to-face with residents. And to the extent we have a big building in downtown Clearwater where they all congregate primarily in offices, I don't think that's a very good service to the citizens.
Thank you. And you have the next question. How many city work sessions and city council meetings have you spoken at prior to filing for this office?
I don't know offhand. I don't know.
You want to take a guess or just talk about how many you've done and
I don't know.
what you've done?
Yeah, I've presented on part of the Parks and Recreation Board, but I don't know offhand.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen?
Well, prior to getting elected the first time, I spoke before the council about the development on Edgewater Point. I spoke to the council about the development on Clearwater Point. I also spoke to the council on the Ocean Friendly initiative with Ocean Allies. I met with our city, at that time, city manager, Bill Horn, before I was even thinking of running, to talk about Greenprint 1.0 and what we were doing to enact that. And I spoke in support of a sustainability, our first sustainability coordinator before I was elected.
Thank you. All right, the next question, Kathleen. What actions would you take to improve transportation options in Clearwater?
Well, I think it's important to understand that our municipal planning organization, Forward Pinellas, works with FDOT, it works with the port, it works with air, it works with roads and different transit carriers in order to develop a plan and advocate for funding to fund those transportation options. We have we have council members who sit on that board who advocate for that funding and our priorities. But I think multimodal transportation is important. I think advocating for wide sidewalks and bike lanes.
Bruce?
Well, a number of things are important. There's an air taxi proposal that they did a pilot project over at Tampa International I'm very interested in. I was in Washington, D.C. A month and a half ago talking with legislators about funding for that project, but I think could have possibilities here. The Bright Line rapid transit train is supposed to be connected from Orlando to Tampa. I would like to see some connection off of that coming to Clearwater and not all the funding going to St. Petersburg, which I think is what some would advocate for.
And you have the next question. The next question. What do you believe should be done about the current issue of cemeteries located underneath buildings in the city?
I think we need to find a respectful solution to that is respectful to the community and the family members who have bodies there. But I think it needs to be a compromise. The taxpayers and the Crum business that owns the property where a lot of those are located and the community over there in that area need to work together to find a solution. But I think we need to come to a respectful solution.
Thank you. Kathleen?
Well, this is heartbreaking that we've recently discovered erased African American grave sites in Clearwater. It's an emotional issue. It needs to be handled delicately. We need to have thoughtful discussions and partner with our residents and community members to develop a respectful memorial that educates, memorializes, and honors those that were buried and then their graves were moved.
You can keep the mic, Kathleen. You have the last question before your closing statements. Give one example of how you work in your neighborhood to solve a problem or issue.
Well, I live on Sand Key across the street from the beach and the Gulf. I'm part of the Sand Key Civic Association, and they've had some issues with sidewalks, so I've advocated for our sidewalk repair there. We don't have a whole lot of significant issues on Sand Key, but I work with them for that as well as safety.
All right, thank you. Bruce?
As I said earlier, I'm Vice President of the Clearwater Beach Association, and so that's my neighborhood. I'm also, I've been a member of the board of Ocean Allies, which encourages the business community out on the beach to be, sustainable and to be, take care of our waters and our beaches and our environment. And then I've also, obviously, I'd like to continue to work on it, but I've been trying to push for some solution to the South Beach traffic problem between Sand Key Bridge and the roundabout, because there's got to be a better way than what we're doing now.
All right, thank you. That concludes the questions. We will now go to closing statements, and we will start with you, Bruce.
Well, thank you for coming here tonight. I'm happy to have my son Trevor is here. He's 23 years old. He went off like many of your kids did for a couple of years at school, but he's back here in Clearwater, and he's now living in Clearwater and working in Clearwater. I'm very happy to report that full time and very successful in his job. But I'm happy he's here tonight because I want to make Clearwater better for his generation and your kids and your grandkids and generations that will come long after I'm gone. And I can't do that by myself. So tonight, I'm asking for your vote, but I'm also asking for your help. Because it's going to take a whole lot of us, organizations working together, individuals working together. It's going to take a lot of hard work, determination. But if we all pitch in and pull together as a community, if we all work really hard at it, if we all collaborate, we can make Clearwater shine brighter than ever. Not just for today and tomorrow, but for many generations to come. Thank you for coming tonight, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Kathleen?
Well, thank you again to the CNC and to Trinity Presbyterian Church for opening up their building for this very important forum. It has been an absolute pleasure to see you all tonight. I know so many of you, and to answer your questions. Clearwater is making great strides on many fronts, and I'm committed to keeping that positive momentum going. I've been a leader for you both on the dais and a leader regionally, sitting on many boards. I am proud and honored to serve as your council member, and I will bring that same passion, energy, commitment to fiscal responsibility, commitment to citizen engagement, and commitment to good governance and transparency in serving as your next mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, if we could give all the candidates a round of applause. All right. We will now transition to the referendum section of this evening. So if we could have a short break, stretch, just stand, and then if we could have Councilmember Lena Teixeira and Reverend Councilmember Jonathan Wade approach the podium, please.
I'm going to take off now. I know enough about this one.
Reverend Wade.
I was working for those So there's finance department. I reported that in Washington, D.C.
Do you still have time left to record that? What she's about to say? You know, I mean,
I just retired January 2nd.
I know the referendum. I don't know how other people will feel, what it is. But there's still a lot of people who may not know about it. So why don't you go ahead and try to
I'm going to visit family. Some of my kids. I got to check the fire plan. I'm going to do some traveling.
If everyone could take a seat, please, so we can get started with the referendum portion of the evening. All right, you guys have a seat. All right, if everyone can have a seat so we can start with the referendum section of tonight's event. Thank you. All right, if you can have a seat. We will start with Councilmember Lena Teixeira explaining the details of the proposed charter changes.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to see all these familiar faces. I'm so pleased with the turnout. It means that everyone is here because they care. And so Mr. Johnson asked me to not only speak for the referendum, but actually take a couple of minutes to explain. So I'm going to go over some of the excerpts from the ordinances so that everyone starts off with the same level of knowledge, okay? So it basically started with, after years of many conversations, the City Council recently voted 4-1 to have the voters decide on how to choose their leader. And the choices are one of two: the plurality, which is what we have now, which means that whoever gets the most votes wins, despite any point spread, whether it's big or not. And the majority vote, which means that the winner must have 50+% of the votes. So just a quick overview of the ordinance, because I want to read it for word, because it is quite a little bit, it's complicated. And I want everyone to understand it. So, with these changes, the supervisor of election has supported the possibility of this referendum if the elections align with state and federal timing. Okay, so we're not going to have our own March elections. To ensure, and this is the complicated part, to ensure orderly transitions and avoid vacancies, we're going to change things up a little bit and stagger it so that by 2028, everyone's on the same schedule. So the way it's going to work is March of this year, seat 1, 2, and 3, and this is if people choose to go for majority vote. This March, seat 1, 2, and 3 shall take office on the next business day following certification and will serve until November 2028. Council members in seats 4 and 5 will serve until the third Tuesday of November 26. Beginning in 2026, all elected council members shall take office the third Tuesday of November. And city elections starting November 2026 will be held in August of even-numbered years in conjunction with the primary election. And the runoff election starting in 2026, each seat that does not receive majority vote, the two candidates who receive the highest votes shall run against each other in a runoff of municipal election, which will be held in November. Now, on the ballot, it shall be as follows. Shall the City of Clearwater Charter be amended to require a runoff election, beginning in the year of 2026, for each council seat in which no one gets over 50% of the vote? As described in the City Ordinance 9728-23, this amendment will also change Clearwater's regular election from March of even-numbered years to August of even-numbered years, and the runoff election, when necessary, will be held in November of even-numbered years. So in other words, if this proceeds, then all the timelines are going to change, and it's going to align with the federal and state and county elections. So those are the facts. So can I move on to some of the
what a yes vote means?
Yes. Okay, so what I did was I collected some of the most commonly vocalized arguments for. So just to be clear, when we voted for this, or at least for myself, I voted yes because I wanted the citizens to make that choice. I was unclear during my campaign about how I felt because I was kind of teetering-tottering, so because of that, I feel it's important that the citizens choose how to proceed. So, some of the most commonly expressed reasons is that the majority vote will ensure greater degree of legitimacy, right? A higher sense of representatives, meaning that person who was elected got the majority vote. It will also align Clearwater with its region. This city of this size is the only one that still, chooses their leaders with plurality, whereas others in the region uses the majority vote. Studies show municipal elections held in conjunction with county, state, and federal results show higher voter turnout. And so when we look at specifically Clearwater, for example, last March, 25.8% of the voters turned out. And then that August, it bumped up to 31%. And then by November, it doubled to 58%. So specifically to our city, it does support those studies where voter turnout is high. So if you prioritize, if you put a lot of emphasis on, engagement and representation, then this will be a good way to move on. Also, the runoffs, and this is something that's actually, I believe as well, runoffs is a lot of work. It's more work than just plurality. And as someone who's running for 2026, I acknowledge that. But you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing good. I want my candidates to work hard. I want to see them work hard. This, in some people's minds, eliminates the fly-by-night candidates, right? It is a huge commitment to go through this process, and they want to see that. And then the other thing is, second to last, I would say, we're to adapt to the latest trends. It is not the same like 10, 15 years ago where there were uncontested races. People just walked right in, or there's just only one or two candidates in each race. We have seen a trend where more and more people are running. And so when we have a race of 3 to 5, it's statistically more difficult for anyone to get that majority vote of 50% plus 1. And so we've been faced in situations where, the person who's sitting up there, 73% of the voters did not vote for that person. And so that causes some unease and lack of confidence. And last but not least, the cost to the city. By aligning it with the rest of the county and state and federal, the cost would be $10,000 versus $150,000. So these are some of the reasons that are mostly have been vocalized, and I wanted to highlight right now.
All right, the no vote. Reverend Wade?
Yes, I'm Reverend Wade, St. James AME Church. I'm a member of the North Greenwood community, and I'm going to use 3 dirty words: diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I believe that my no is based on making it harder for minority candidates or people with low funds to be able to engage and be a part of this process. I don't see a need to change the process that's already in place by the charter that's currently here, but this council voted for that to move forward. And as I think back over our time as the Charter Review Committee in 2023, the recommendations brought forward did not support what came out of this referendum. So I'm seeing that the council is deciding what's best rather than using the process that's put in place to make decisions. So it's as if we go in as a charter review, make recommendations, and they get ignored. So that's one reason that I say no. The second reason I say no, that 2 candidates with a lot of money, they run and they gain their votes. And the candidate that's working just as hard, didn't raise as much money, wins the election because the 2 are fighting and they cancel each other out, would have to go against the runoff, go out and raise more money, and I think that that's unfair. I think that whoever wins the election with the greatest number of votes wins the race.
All right. Lena, do you have any closing comment for that?
Yes, so one of the things, as someone who ran twice and who is the most diverse up there, little Latina woman, youngest designer, fashion designer, and with a nursing degree, I am the most diverse. I will take offense if someone suggests that I got there just because of that. However, one of the things that I noticed is that there is no magical factor that correlates to success. If you look at the present council, we have someone up there that fundraises the least and the most and everything in between. It's not even who works the hardest. There's so many contributing factors. I mean, if we're looking at patterns, let's look at this one. If you look at the past council, the placement in the ballot shows a pattern. Conduct, Caudell, Beckman, Bunker, Albritton. What does that show? So if we're going to look at patterns, we need to acknowledge all of them. And I don't think there's a magical factor that secures a win. And so if diversity is very important to you, can you prove that someone who raises less won't win? I don't know. The research does not singularly say that. There's just too many factors. And for those people who feel that diversity is a priority, then, vote accordingly. But I did not vote for a majority vote. I voted for the people to make that decision. So I preferred to listen to the vote of thousands versus the recommendation of 6. That's what happened.
Reverend Wade, you got a final comment?
Again, I just stand on my note that I think that as a candidate who had little resources, to have a second runoff, if I didn't come away with 51% of the vote and won, I think that would just be a hardship. So I'm still saying no. I think that the process that's already in place, the referendum, I would vote no on the referendum because we have one that's working and it has worked since its inception.
All right. All right, do we have time for any questions? You'll have to be, want to come up here, or are you going to be loud enough for everyone to hear?
You were referring to other regions that have this type of election system. Are they district seats or are they at large seats? Because that makes a big difference.
My understanding is that there's a combination. It's not just one. And the region I'm referring to is Gulf Coast.
Well, they're much smaller, right?
Sorry?
They're much smaller, right?
No, we're talking about comparative in size. So to comparative to other cities in the Gulf Coast region of this size.
Yes, please.
How many minorities?
Can you stand up?
Yes.
And you've got to be really loud so
Yes.
everybody back here can hear.
Question I don't know the answer. How many minorities have been elected by the present system?
Do I go?
When I use the term minorities, I'm mostly talking about African American and Hispanic folks. Lena has certainly claimed that she is minority, but she's supported by pretty much the establishment, and I'm not begrudging her that. She raised a lot of money and she won her race, and I was in the same race with her, so I'm not begrudging. I just think that the process, without single member districts and without having the resources, it's harder to get an African American or Latino person elected, Mexican person elected. Yes.
In the back?
I understand that the goal, I believe the goal of this referendum is to have a greater number of citizens voting for elected representatives. However, the data shows that if you have a runoff, you have a very small percentage of your voters going to the polls. Right now, in March, you're going to get 20-30% turnout. You're not going to improve much on that. So even if you change the date to the primaries, you're still not going to get a good voter turnout. And if you add a second election on top of that, you're going to get a very, very, very low voter turnout. The data also shows the Republicans turn out more than Democrats for these runoff elections. So you're getting a low voter turnout that is not representative of the whole community. The council could have, as Sarasota has done, moved this election to November to line up with state and federal elections. Then you've gotten both. You would have gotten good voter turnout, you would have gotten good voter representation, and you would not need a runoff.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I agree with the speaker, Marita Lynch. She served on the Charter Review Committee. She's participated in this discussion over and over. And I think if the city council, including our council member Lena, if they really cared about representation, they would, like other cities, we would have single member districts.
What's your
These
question?
other-
What's your question?
What's your question? My
Well, she's got a comment or a question.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Public expression should be encouraged. Anyway, I think we should really, and we've tried, and Wade's tried, and Marita's tried. I can point out people in this audience who have tried. We're the only city of this size who does not have single member districts. And that's the direction, if we really want representation, that is the direction we should be going in. And this is a waste of money, and it's also gonna cost, it's a waste of money to have it on the ballot in the first place, and it's also gonna cost us that much more money to run another runoff election. It's gonna cost us that money, not
Thank you
not
so
just
much.
the candidate.
Thank
A
you.
question? A question?
I have a question. How
Sure.
much would it cost for a runoff election also?
They don't
What's
know.
the cost of a runoff election? For
What do you mean?
for the taxpayers, not the candidate.
So right now, we pay the county roughly 150. If we change the system, then we're gonna only pay 10,000 because the system is already in place. So it's actually a savings to the city tax.
You better
taxpayers.
verify that.
So can we just,
Miss Lanza,
Yes? I like to verify everything. Verify what I said.
please refer to the Tampa Bay Times, the article that was published this week. And
Excuse
please
me,
be respectful.
excuse me, can we just let her finish her question of her thoughts?
Thank
so,
you. Thank you.
would it be possible to have it like as separate? I mean, it sounds to me like some people are very much in favor of changing the date, but not changing from plurality to majority.
Well, they have the opportunity to express themselves at that day when they vote. If the people vote to say no, then I want to respect that. I just want to give that option. If they feel that they want the dates but not the new, then they can just say no, and they're going to be heard loud and clear.
Right, so do you get that? So if it's a no, then it just goes back, and it's for the council to rework, then it will come up again. So
Okay,
that's a no.
also with this,
It should be
vote,
2 votes.
if someone resigns from the race after they've won, then they would be appointed for the rest of that term, so you would have a person that's appointed by the council to fill out the remainder of that time, which that person would be, if it, say in the first 2 weeks of the first year, then they would have 3 years to sit as an unelected person, rather than the 2 years to come up and be, if they had another race 2 years later, for somebody to be elected by the people, instead of being appointed by the council.
There's a question in the back of the room. If you could stand, please. Loud enough for everyone to hear. Okay, you're gonna have to come up here, because everybody can't hear you.
It is 2 issues.
No, but come up to the mic.
Yeah, come up here so we can hear you. I know, but everybody wants to hear what you have to say, and we can't hear you.
I don't understand why it's not two separate issues. In the mic, 1 inch from the mic, please.
Yeah, we can hear you.
To me, it should be 2 separate issues, but you're saying I'd have to vote no, even though I was for one and maybe against the other. To me, that doesn't seem right. I'm not for a runoff, but to save money for the city, I could see changing the date.
So just to explain the sequence, right? The discussion was whether to do plurality or majority vote. That was the issue.
Okay.
Okay. In order for that to be feasible, the supervisor of elections then told us or directed us to change the timing. That's how it was born. That's how it proceeded.
So that's the only reason why you want to change the time? It's not
Not
to
to
save
save
money
money?
for the city?
Well, there's so many different reasons. I can't speak for the other council, but that was just a sequence of events. It wasn't like we had a discussion, let's change the timing. It was, do we want plurality? Do the people of Clearwater want plurality or majority vote? And then the supervisor of elections then said, okay, well, if we're going to do this, you got to be aligned with the rest of the elections. That's the sequence. But if the voters have a choice, they have an opportunity to express themselves and say no if that's the case.
We can't say no to vote.
And then we can bring it back.
And again, that, I just wanted to say, I agree with, I would love to see we discussed this in our charter review. I would love to see the date line up with the regular election.
Yeah.
And not have to decide, have the plurality vote of 51%. But that was not the desire. The desire is to ensure that the folks get elected that folks want to see elected. And I think it's, again, not having candidates, it knocks out minority candidates. It knocks out candidates that don't have a lot of money.
Are there any other questions? Let me just make sure there's nobody else.
Yeah.
Anybody else who hasn't had a question yet? Okay, now, go ahead.
Okay, so if I understand the original intent was to decide plurality and majority, but in that process, you identified a way to save $150,000, so why, that just doesn't, and then.
To just to repeat,
Yeah.
I was listing the most common reasons for those who support the majority vote. That's all I was
That was
doing.
one of the reasons.
The ones that most vocalized.
I gotta get somebody who hasn't asked a question yet. Yes, right there.
From what I read, at least you know, the council itself can still vote to change the date. They don't need the citizens to approve that. So if we say no because we don't want majority, we're all right with plurality, then you all can come back and change the date in order to save the city money. Is that true? That's what I read. I don't know if that's true.
I'm going to have to consult the city attorney. I don't want to misspeak. When it comes to these things, I've learned really quick that the obvious sometimes is not the truth. So I will give you my personal information, and you can call me, and I'll follow up with an answer by tomorrow for you. I will speak to Mr. Margolis, our city attorney, and confirm the facts.
That might be important information to let all of us know, because some people here are like, yeah, I'd love to change the date. So maybe you should say, if we vote no, you can still come back and choose to change the date. That's what St. Pete did, they changed the date.
I'd encourage you to go to the council meeting and go to Citizens to be Heard and tell the council that, and that's the way that would get changed.
Okay, one thing that was brought to my attention that has not been addressed yet, and that's filling of vacancies. I think you started mentioning it. Reverend Wade, vacancy in council member seat. A vacancy on the council should be filled by majority vote of the remaining council members within 30 days after the vacancy. The person so appointed shall serve as a council member for the remainder of the unexpired term of office. You talked a little bit about that. Can you talk about that?
Well, the way that it works now, if a person gets appointed by the council, then when that 2-year cycle came up for the election, that person at that point would be, the citizens will get to vote and then fill that seat rather than having the council appoint that person to the end of that 4-year term.
Okay, and if the council member fails to fill such a vacancy within 60 days after it occurs, a special election shall be called to fill the unexpired term?
Yes.
That's correct?
That's what's in the
Yeah, okay, yeah. Some people, Lena, do you have any comment on this? Okay, anybody have any other comments on the referendum? Questions?
Can I just make one little statement for
Is
clarification?
it a question?
Jesus.
Yes.
It has to be a question.
Okay.
All right.
The question is for both of you, I guess, but Wade in particular, because you addressed it. When you're talking about minority representation, didn't the Charter Review Committee discuss the fact that in this city, the minority representation is people with, it's really based on income bracket versus, Hispanic or black. It's really, because there are as many white low-income people as there are, so this having to run a second race is related to how much money does the person have and how much money can they raise, and their connections to money.
The answer to that is that was one of the discussions, but that's not considered, when I'm saying minority, it's not about money. It's about having representation from diverse cultures, people with different ideas, different views, and who are a part of the city. And I think it's important to have folks sitting behind this desk, like Javante's running. It's important to have those folks here, so young African Americans can see that they are a part of the city, rather than having what we've had for the last however many years, since Mamie Hodges was appointed in '92, I think it was.
Thank you. All right, if there are no other further questions, we are concluding. Thank you so much for coming out this evening and participating in this process.
Thank you.